Have you ever felt the desperate urge to prove your worth to people who will never truly see you? That gnawing hunger for recognition that leaves you performing, posturing, showing off your achievements like a peacock spreading its feathers in an empty forest? Tonight, I want to speak to that part of you that feels invisible, that believes your value must be displayed to be real. If this resonates, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. By the end of this journey together, you will become a different person, one who understands the profound power of concealment. So stay with me until the very end. There is a particular suffering that belongs to our age, the exhaustion of endless exhibition. You know this pain intimately, don't you? The way your heart races when you post something, waiting for the validation of likes and comments. The way you rehearse casual conversations to sound more intelligent, more successful, more worthy of attention. Machiavelli understood something that our modern world has forgotten entirely. Showing off is not strength. It is the purest form of weakness. It is the shadow self masquerading as light, desperately seeking external confirmation of an internal void. Listen to the whisper of your soul in this moment. How many times have you dimmed your authentic self to shine brighter in someone else's eyes? How many performances have you given, believing that if you could just impress enough people, you would finally feel at peace with who you are? The great psychologist Carl Jung would have recognized this immediately as the tyranny of the persona, that mask we wear to navigate the world, slowly forgetting that it is not our face. You have been living as an actor who has forgotten they are acting, believing the role is reality. But here is what Machiavelli knew, and what Jung discovered through decades of studying the human psyche. The moment you show off, you reveal your emptiness. You announce to the world that you need their approval to feel complete. You hand over your power to strangers who will never fill the void you're trying to escape. Think about the people you most respect, the ones whose presence fills a room without them saying a word. They are not performing. They are not proving. They are simply being, and that being is so complete, so self-contained, that it draws others like moths to a flame. This is not about arrogance or superiority. This is about recognizing a profound truth. Authentic power whispers, while insecurity shouts. When you show off, you are shouting your insecurities to a world that can sense weakness faster than blood in water. We must understand how we arrived at this place of perpetual performance. We live in what the philosopher Guy Debord called the society of the spectacle, a world where being is replaced by appearing, where essence is sacrificed for image. From the moment you learned to speak, society began its conditioning. Show them how smart you are, your parents said. Make sure they notice your achievements, your teachers insisted. Build your personal brand, the career counselors demanded. Layer by layer, you learned that your worth was measured by external recognition. Nietzsche warned us about this centuries ago. The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. But we have done more than submit to the tribe. We have made ourselves slaves to its attention, addicted to its fleeting validation. Social media has weaponized this ancient wound, turning every moment into a potential showcase, every experience into content. You no longer live your life. You curate it, edit it, package it for consumption. The question is no longer, am I happy? But does it look like I'm happy? Jung called this the collective unconscious trap, when we lose ourselves in mass behavior, forgetting our individual path toward wholeness. You begin to measure your progress not by your inner growth, but by how impressed others appear to be with your outer achievements. Machiavelli observed that the most successful rulers were those who revealed little and calculated much. They understood that mystery creates respect, while exhibition breeds contempt. Everyone sees what you appear to be, he wrote. Few experience what you really are. But what happens when you reverse this wisdom? When you make your private struggles public performances? When you turn your healing journey into a highlight reel? You lose the very thing you're seeking: authentic connection with yourself and others. The modern showing-off epidemic is not just about vanity. It's about a deep disconnection from our own inner compass, a forgetting of what Jung called the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming who we truly are, rather than who we think others want us to be. Now we come to the most radical act you can perform in a world obsessed with visibility, the conscious choice to step back, to become unavailable to the endless demands for performance. This is not about becoming a hermit or abandoning all social connection. This is about what Jung called the necessary retreat into the self, the courageous journey inward that precedes any authentic journey outward. Machiavelli understood that withdrawal could be a form of power. He wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." Sometimes, the wisest strategy is to disappear from the hunt entirely. When you stop showing off, something profound happens. The noise quiets. The performance anxiety fades. You begin to remember what your own voice sounds like when it's not competing with the chorus of external expectations. This withdrawal is not passive. It is the most active thing you can do. It is the conscious reclaiming of your psychic energy from the black holes of other people's opinions. Jung understood that all neurosis comes from avoiding this encounter with ourselves, and all healing begins with the willingness to sit alone with who we really are. In the silence of non-performance, you discover something extraordinary. You are already complete. You always have been. The achievements you've been brandishing like shields, the success stories you've been telling like prayers, they were never meant to fill you up. They were meant to flow from your fullness. Nietzsche spoke of the Bermensch, the person, who creates their own values rather than inheriting them from the herd. But this creation can only happen in solitude, in the fertile darkness of withdrawal from collective judgment. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you did something beautiful that no one else knew about? When did you last create something, learn something, become something without the need to announce it to the world? That is where your real power lies, in the secret garden of your becoming. The ancient mystics knew this truth. God speaks in the silence between thoughts, in the space between breaths, in the pause between performances. Your authentic self can only emerge when you stop trying to impress the audience and start listening to the quiet voice within. Here is where the true magic begins, when you learn to transmute the energy you once spent on display into the gold of genuine self-development. This is the alchemical process Jung wrote about, the transformation of base impulses into psychological gold. Machiavelli observed that the most formidable people were those whose depths could not be easily measured. They possessed what he called vert, not virtue in the moral sense, but a kind of excellence that needed no announcement, no validation, no applause. When you stop showing off, you begin to show up. The difference is everything. Showing off is about managing other people's perceptions. Showing up is about being fully present to your own experience, your own growth, your own becoming. Think about the energy you've been hemorrhaging through endless self-promotion. That same energy, when redirected inward, becomes the fuel for genuine transformation. Instead of crafting the perfect post about your workout, you simply work out, feeling your body grow stronger. Instead of announcing your reading list, you simply read, feeling your mind expand. Jung called this the integration of the shadow, accepting the parts of ourselves we've been trying to hide or compensate for through performance. When you no longer need to be impressive, you become free to be human. When you no longer need to appear perfect, you become free to actually grow. The psychological freedom that comes from this shift is profound. You begin to operate for what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of fate, acceptance of what is, rather than constant striving for what looks good. Your actions become expressions of your authentic nature, rather than advertisements for your desired image. This is not about becoming passive or unmotivated. This is about finding what the ancient Greeks called eudaimonia, a li flourishing that comes from living according to your deepest nature rather than society's expectations. Your achievements become byproducts of your being rather than compensations for your emptiness. The people who truly matter, the ones capable of genuine connection, are drawn to authenticity, not performance. They can sense the difference between someone who is trying to impress them and someone who is simply being themselves. Real intimacy is impossible when one person is performing for another. When you master the art of concealment, you discover something Machiavelli understood intuitively. True power lies not in what you reveal, but in what you keep sacred. Your depths become your strength. Your mysteries become your magnetism. As we near the end of our journey together, I want you to pause and look into the mirror of your own experience. Not the mirrors of social media, not the reflections in other people's eyes, but the clear, honest mirror of self-awareness. What do you see there? Beyond the achievements and failures, beyond the personas and performances, beyond the endless story you've been telling about who you are, what remains? Jung wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. But to claim this privilege, you must first stop being who you think you should be. You must cease the exhausting labor of impression management and begin the sacred work of self-acceptance. Machiavelli understood that the greatest leaders were those who could see clearly not just the political landscape, but themselves. They knew their strengths without needing to advertise them, acknowledged their weaknesses without shame, and moved through the world with the quiet confidence that comes from self-knowledge. This is what awaits you on the other side of showing off. A profound peace with your own existence. You will no longer need external validation because you will have developed the most important relationship of all, the relationship with yourself. The questions that have been driving your need for recognition. Am I good enough? Do I matter? Am I worthy of love? These questions find their answers not in applause, but in the quiet moments of self-acceptance. You are enough, not because of what you achieve, but because of what you are. Nietzsche wrote, "Become who you are." This becoming is not a performance for others. It is a private revolution, a quiet transformation that happens in the spaces between breaths, in the moments when no one is watching, in the sacred solitude of your own becoming. When you finally release the need to show off, you discover that you have been showing the wrong thing all along. You have been displaying your accomplishments when what people really hunger for is your humanity. You have been performing your strengths when what the world needs is your authentic presence. The person you become when you stop trying to impress others is someone worth becoming, not because they are more impressive, but because they are more real. And reality, Jung discovered, is the most impressive thing of all. As we conclude this exploration together, understand that what I'm offering you is not just a strategy for social interaction. It is a path toward what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming psychologically whole. The choice to stop showing off is the beginning of a deeper choice. The choice to stop fragmenting yourself into pieces small enough for others to consume and judge. You are not a collection of achievements to be displayed. You are not a brand to be marketed. You are not a performance to be critiqued. You are a complete, complex, ever-evolving human being whose worth cannot be measured by external metrics. Your value is not determined by your visibility. Your significance is not contingent on recognition. Machiavelli's greatest insight was not about political manipulation. It was about the power of self-containment. The most formidable people are those who need nothing from you, who move through the world complete in themselves, who offer their gifts freely without expecting payment in the currency of attention. This is your invitation to join their ranks, to become someone so grounded in their own worth that they need no external confirmation, to develop what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to hold the tension between who you are and who you're becoming, without needing others to resolve that tension for you. The spiritual traditions have always known this secret. The divine resides in the hidden places, speaks in the silence, reveals itself to those who stop seeking it in the marketplace of human opinion. Your deepest wisdom, your truest strength, your most authentic self, these emerge not in the spotlight, but in the sanctuary of your own solitude. So I leave you with this final reflection. What would you do? Who would you become? How would you live if no one was watching? If there were no cameras, no audiences, no judges, what would bring you joy? What would make you feel alive? What would feel like coming home to yourself? That is where your real life begins. Not in the performance, but in the pause between performances. Not in the showing off, but in the showing up. Not in the impression you make on others, but in the intimacy you develop with yourself. The greatest gift you can give the world is not your achievements on display, but your authentic presence in relationship. And that presence can only be cultivated in the sacred space of non-performance, in the holy ground of simply being who you are. Remember, in a world of endless noise, your silence is revolutionary. In a culture of constant display, your depth is radical. In a society of perpetual performance, your authenticity is the most subversive act of all. Stop showing off. Start showing up. The world is waiting not for your performance, but for your presence. And that presence, my friend, needs no announcement at all.